Okay, I played glurp on ships of the Northern Fleet. I know.
Right, so fucking glurp has a TikTok, but Captain Barnabas doesn't. You need to hit up someone to get that done, because we need him. We need him on TikTok. He'll bring us all together.
Of all the shows that TikTok could be talking about right now, I can't believe it is this one, because what a trip down memory lane. So as some of you guys know, back when I was a young warthog, I was a model. And models sometimes act, albeit pretty poorly. And that sometimes meant having bit parts in TV shows and movies. My lame claim to fame is nothing compared to some other people on this app, but yes, I was actually on an episode of Ships of the Northern Fleet. For a full episode, and I think I had like 5 lines. But yeah, I played the role of Cicely. Again, poorly, because model, not an actress. Seriously, what a walk down memory lane. I really don't remember too much from the show, but I remember loving the cast and crew. Again, I'm not an actor by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm happy to have that show part of my CV. And I am so excited that I'm connecting with people on TikTok who used to be on the show.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
I think my favorite part from Ships of the Northern Fleet was when Karis DeRafferty's airship gets shot down and he refers to the projectile as a magic missile, which not only is a nod to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, but also to the source material of that game, which is Chainmail. Chainmail was a game where you train armies and the wizards would cast projectiles, and all projectiles were referred to as missiles, therefore magic missiles. And it was a big inspiration to the fantasy community, so I'm not surprised that a fantasy sort of steampunk show and book series would also include this sort of this nice little nod back to a big inspiration to the community.
Damien, you are a hard man to find. What? Who are you? Where's Celine? Now there's a hard woman to avoid. If you did anything to her, I would... Easy there, cowboy. I've done nothing to her. I don't even think I could. That woman would carve my heart out and feed it to me if she even saw me. What? Then why am I here? What do you want from me? Oh, Damien. Oh, my poor, sweet Damien. I've come to apologize. Do I know you? Of course you know.
Alright, I finally made it onto Ships of the Northern Fleet side of TikTok, and I'm gonna share some of my fan thoughts. I'm gonna start off by saying the only reason why I put this all together is because I had a friend who was obsessed with astronomy. So the 3 sisters were named after the constellation Argo Navis. No, it's not a coincidence, their ship was named Argo. Carina, Neos, Alcefina, all major stars in the 3 main points of that constellation. When you look up the 3 different parts of the constellation, you'll come to the same conclusion I did. The sisters represent past, present, and future. Carina, the past, the keel. She is so rooted in tradition and keeping the memory of her parents alive, especially for her younger sisters. Neos, the poop deck, the present. It's so obvious when she says, "Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I'm going to live today as if it's my last." And then, of course, the youngest, Alcefina, the sails, the future. Basically a combination of 2 sisters always looking towards the horizon.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
Ships of the Northern Fleet. Best show of my childhood, by far. No, I didn't read the books, okay? Don't, crucify me, alright? There was 30 of them. Season 3, Captain Barnaby's dead. Right at the end of the season, we're on the Black Wind, and it's the funeral, okay? The funeral episode. Everybody remembers this one. So, Sam is there. She approaches the casket for a moment, and you get to see Captain Barnaby up close, and he still has the storm stone in his hat, the way that he always did. But then, later on in the episode, Fletcher approaches the casket for a moment in the background, during some dialogue between Sam and Thomas. But then, later in the episode, when Sam approaches the casket again, if you look really close, the storm stone is missing, which completely explains why Fletcher has it at the end of season 4, which they never really go into detail about. He just brushes it off, and it's amazing.
So I just wanted to start off by saying that I'm so excited that people are finally talking about Ships of the Northern Fleet. I have been obsessed with the show for the longest time, and to see people finally talking about it and making it more mainstream is just, it makes my heart so happy. But I wanted to specifically bring up a few characters I wanted to talk about Glorp and how everybody seems to hate him the most, but nobody seems to be talking about James and his entire story arc, especially through season 3. I feel like the writers thought that that whole going off on his own thing would be cool, but it was just lame and redundant, and it didn't make any sense, even though he sort of redeemed himself by making that self-sacrifice at the end of season 6. Anyways, James is the worst. Glorp is okay. Watch Ships of the Northern Fleet.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
So my favorite thing is actually the character Sidolphus, who is the main engineer for the Atraxi Collective. He's actually based on the idea of the character Sid from Final Fantasy games. There's always a character named Sid that has something to do with airships, and the author loved Final Fantasy so much that he wanted to pay homage to Final Fantasy by creating Sidolphus, and he's the one that's always in charge of making airships for the Atraxi Collective, and each airship that we see in the show is actually based on a different version of the Highwind that we see in Final Fantasy. Pretty cool.
I don't really talk about this a lot here on my page because I really wanted my page to stand on my own, and I didn't want to,
No way. No way. Oh my god, you were my favorite character. Okay, you have to tell me, what about season 2? I think it was episode 7? You know, where you did that thing that got you out of trouble with the commander and just, God, how did you make that look so smooth?
I've got a WandaVision Easter egg that I know you haven't seen yet, and it's a little niche, but I'm on a boat, so I'm going to tell you anyway. Got this picture from a promo, and look behind Vision here. You can see a sloop. Only my fellow shipwrecks are going to get this one, but do you remember that Matt Shackman, the director of WandaVision, was actually a child actor? Now, he's often uncredited for this role, but he was a huge fan of the books, and this was the scene in the pilot episode of the Ships of the Northern Fleet that he fell overboard. Yeah, it was before the Scribe Feathers brought in the dirigibles and before they had the budget for that, but anyway, fun fact.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
90s kids, you'll get this reference. So this was a guest appearance by Lucy Lawless. She comes in as Captain Sierra Flanagan of a random airship. And in one of the scenes, they're in her captain's quarters having to have a very serious discussion. And in one of the shots, you get to see hanging on her wall is a freaking chakra. And it's just...
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
It'd have to be Nathan Fillion being cast as Captain Hellman. For those of you who don't know, Captain Hellman is the main antagonist of Ships of the Northern Fleet Season 1. He is the captain of the brigand ship, the Dark Wolf. He's a fantastic character, really fun and quippy when he wants to be, but also incredibly sadistic at times. And Nathan Fillion's portrayal is perfect. I mean, how often do you get to see Nathan Fillion play a villain, huh? Whew. And check this out. Huh? I got Captain Hellman's glasses. Woo-hoo-hoo. But yeah, Nathan Fillion as Captain Hellman, favorite thing about Sopnov. Hands down.
Hey, Fleeters. I left this in a comment on someone else's page. They made me think of it for whatever reason. But I wanted to put it here just to see if anyone else thought the same as I did. So in the prequels to Ships of the Northern Fleet, obviously, I know they changed the way that the impetus drives work, but I just thought they did a bad job of explaining why. And the reason why, I think, is because of the way that the multidimensional anchoring works, regardless of the cloud issue that they had. But is it the multidimensional anchoring? I'm not going back and reading them. I'm just not.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
I think my favorite part from Ships of the Northern Fleet was when Karis Darafferty's airship gets shot down and he refers to the projectile as a magic missile, which not only is a nod to 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, but also to the source material of that game, which is Chainmail. Chainmail was a game where you train armies, and the wizards would cast projectiles, and all projectiles were referred to as missiles, therefore magic missiles. So, and it was a big inspiration to the fantasy community. So I'm not surprised that like a fantasy sort of steampunk show and book series would also include this sort of this nice little nod back to a big inspiration to the community.
Tell me your favorite Easter egg or moment from Ships of the Northern Fleet, books or show.
Okay, this is my time to shine because I've been thinking about this for so long and nobody ever talks about it. But in chapter 3, when they introduce the rogue crew for the very first time, and they're like, this is the person and this is their tool and or weapon, like what they do. All of their tools or weapons correspond with how that character dies or like their personality dies. So for like Luke, who, if you haven't seen it, is like super young, naive, like one of the, whatever, you get it, maverick pilot kind of deal. He has the compass, but he gets lost at sea for 3 years before they find him in like book 3. And so he's like super gruff and cynical and like really mean and sad afterwards. And he is the one who wields the compass and everybody else's corresponds to their thing. And I'm like, did nobody see this?